Good afternoon, everyone. I hope my talk can help Swaroop sell his solution more. We learned a lot about agentic AI. Uh, Hi, everyone. I am Vikas. I lead cybersecurity at Flipkart. I've been a three-time CISO and have partnered with a lot of startups. And I'm really excited to be here today to be amongst this community of builders and believers of the cyber ecosystem of India. And I'll try and focus my presentation today to help you engage with security leaders and also sell to CISOs. So while we all try and build great solutions and we try and build great products, I think finally we also have to understand and found as founders, you have to understand that you have to be able to sell them to enterprises and companies, which come in various sizes, large, small, complex, and various industry specific sectors. So, just to start with a small fairy tale, generally what people believe is that you go ahead, if you want to connect to a CISO, you give him a call, then you get a demo, and then you close the sale. Now, a quick show of hands, how many have been able to do it within a few days or 7 days? I think I've not seen any hands here. But see, what really problem is that this looks like a nice reality, but on ground, it is a difficult one. And it's not so because the reality is that the buying journey is complex. It's a mixture of lot of aspects, right from creating RFPs for uh, the user or the consumer, and then maybe giving a demonstration, pitting against multiple competitors, and even after you've gone through the various features and you've been selected, then also you can actually end up going through a big round of negotiations, be it commercial, whether you fit into the budget or not, and then the cycle goes on and on. So to understand this scenario, you have to understand that how does the overall enterprise buying journey goes through. And obviously, these journeys are different for different set of companies. For a smaller company, it may be a much shorter loop. For a larger company, you may have a larger loop. But however, you may be end up may have an opportunity to become a design partner or do a POC, or you may have in certain organizations the option of going through a lab like in certain organizations there is a specific incubator for startups where you can actually join them and not go through the whole enterprise journey. For this to understand this, you need to understand which are your major players, and obviously the CISO is one among the first. So what we'll try to do is to understand what's the role of a modern CISO today. While as most of us would think that the CISO is a very technical role, in reality, it's a little bit of mix of both. I think. How many of you think that CISO is really a hardcore technical job versus something which sits in between? Any inputs to that? Is it a pure technical job or is it a mix of business and enterprise work? Yeah. So truly today, a CISO is a mix of, let's say, a little bit of a lot of strategy, being an advisor to various business units and entities, being a guardian of the overall landscape. Now, when I talk about guardian, it's not only you're talking about adversaries here, you're also talking about being up to date with compliance. So, with the compliance landscape hotting up in every sector, be it India as well, with already existing IT Act or the Digital uh, Personal Data Protection Act, and even with the RBI, which is having very strong controls of the fintech. Most of the time, the CISO's role is goes through a lot of work in understanding this ecosystem, understanding this thing, and then he has to understand the business and ensure that he's solving real business problems as well. So if he or she has to solve these business problems, then in this journey, while selecting solutions may appear to be a major task, it's a very minor one. What's the real role of a CISO is to solve and mitigate business risks and enable the business to do the job. As simple as enabling a fintech provider to go to market after solving all their compliances, or an e-commerce player to do its job safely and protecting them against various attacks. So to do this, a CISO has a myriad role. He has to balance all these aspects, and we have to be able to, as founders, you have to be able to ensure that you're solving some problems for them. So, but we also want to understand what when you try to sell this your solution to a potential security buyer, you have to understand their personas. So I've tried to map out the CISO's persona in view in this quadrant. Be it a question of how technical the CISO is or how high strategic it is. A traditional strategy CISO will try to make a balance of both, as most of you mentioned. But however, you also have different kinds of CISOs, with some of them being advisors who are more in the GRC role or a pure core technical role. And sometimes it's a function of the enterprise itself. That means maybe a smaller startup, when it's beginning, you would need a hardcore technical CISO, whereas a mature organization would need a strategic CISO. And then obviously, you will have risk-averse CISOs who have just been put into the role to fit in for the time being, and then he just wants to get it over with and ensure there's no risk. And on the lighter side, obviously, you'll have, as I call some of them, the Gartner CISOs, that when you go and pitch a product to them, they'll obviously ask, where do they fit into the magic quadrant? Or, as some of you may have heard, you will have CISOs who will ask you for a POC and leverage a lot of POCs to, in fact, get a good understanding, but they don't have the budgets to actually buy anything. And that may happen. But obviously, you have to understand that's a whole function of the organization and the role which the CISO is in. So what we try and do is to understand what is driving the purchase of your product. Now, if you look on the left side of the slide, your solution, you to understand where does it fit in, what is driving the purchase of your product. Firstly, what is the problem you're solving? But is the problem connected to be it a compliance requirement? For example, with the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, we saw a lot of startups coming in and solving the issue of how to get the organizations compliant. Whereas some are pure risk driven. Let's say when Log4j happened, there was a large focus on ensuring mitigation of vulnerabilities which were there. And then obviously you have SOC 2 and MFA compliant. Now, examples with a lot of vendors like Drata and Sprinto were solving the problem of getting organizations compliant with ISO 27001 or SOC 2 for B2B enterprises which wanted to sell. And obviously, when you have new threats like ransomware or phishing, you could be part of that journey as well. And finally, your emerging technologies, be it AI. Now, as we see, I think we've seen more AI product companies than any in this world. And everywhere you go, you see AI. Not that the hygiene factors have not yet disappeared. They still are there. You still have companies with basic challenges around MFA, around vulnerability management, or DLP. But I believe the hype of AI products will be there, but they need to solve the core business problems. Once you've understood where your journey of your product fits in, most of us think that maybe we talk to one person and the issue ends there. But generally, for a founder, your solution would be evaluated by a security engineer or a team, be it the application security team or the cloud security team. Once the evaluation has been done, then comes the decision-making process where the CISO also gets involved. And obviously, you have to talk to the procurement team. And I can assure you that the security team also values the inputs of the procurement team, because they help you understand what the market has and also helps you get the right deal with the right legal terms as well. And finally, obviously, you don't want to, hopefully the CISO has been able to convince the CFO. So you don't want that situation to be there, but he is also the CFO, or the finance partner is also one of the persons who will be helping you, helping finalize the deal as well. And that is why obviously you don't have large enterprise deals finishing off so soon. So moving on, so I want to talk a little about what really works when you're trying to sell to a CISO. So you want to, try to put this through a kind of a funnel in which what should you do from an initial hype to leading to a potential partnership and a trusted partnership, so that you can make it work as we go along. For that, firstly, I think you should be very clear of what you are trying to solve. For that, you need clarity. I'll give you a simple example of my journey. Way back when I was in my previous organization, UpGuard was one of the vendors which was for third-party risk management and external surface management. It was not a deep technical solution, but it had a very nice, cool online demo. You could just pick it up, start it off on its own, just on a request email, no contacting their sales team or anyone. Leverage them comfortably for 2 weeks or two. Use that. and then you could see its POC. And if you could email them, they could extend the POC for another 15 days. And then the advantage of it was that there was no manual intervention required, and the UI UX was so comfortable that you could navigate it on your own. So it was a very simple, solve the problem, not a core technical problem, but it was much better than a lot of complicated products which had a lot of sales cycle or to go through, and had very good pricing as well. So the finally, keeping that in mind, you will have to ensure that you're having clear proof of how your product is going to work. How many of you heard of XBOW? Just a quick show of hands. Yeah. So I'm not touting or we're not customers for XBOW, but I'm just saying, what's your unique differentiator for XBOW? If anyone wants to share, how are they proving themselves that they're a good solution? They're a pen testing solution. Yes, but anyone knows they've got unique selling proposition. Anyone knows of HackerRank? So who's number one on HackerRank today? XBOW is the number one on HackerRank because, and even though there's an AI testing platform. So now when you're talking about AI testing platforms, and the XBOW is claiming to be the number one in that, and completely, so that it's a proof that the solution works. Similarly, you can have either case studies where you describe. Sometimes I've taken a lot of effort. I think though enterprise companies also do write a lot of case studies, but you can also build and demonstrate how your solution is working through simple case studies or showing clear metrics on what your CISO can help you do there. How can CISO show the business value or his problem is getting solved? Moving on, speed to value. POCs would help, and I think if some of you would have understood the CSPM market right from Dome9 to Orca to Wiz now, and even other solutions, the cloud security posture management tool really solution of the landscape took off very so fast because it was very easy to deploy. In fact, I remember even as a CISO, Dome9 sales head giving me a demo of Dome9 within quick 15 minutes, and it looked so wonderful having everything on the screen and to your entire cloud assets being covered wonderfully. And I just had to take the read-only AWS account key from my DevOps head, and as a CISO could just log in and activate CSPM and this Dome9 and could readily see all my inventory of our cloud assets and the issues which were there. It was a different matter that I couldn't fix all of the issues there so soon, but it was still a good immediate response there. So having a small, fast proof of concept is a really helpful way to do that. And then finally, you have to understand that you need to build relationships. You have to adapt based on feedback and ensure that you engage in co-creation. I don't know how many of you have done that, but sometimes I've seen organizations or founders do pivot their solution after getting feedback from their customers as well. I think I've also even built relationships with some founders whom I have not ended up buying solutions at all, but we're still on talking terms. In fact, I've not to name them, but in fact, one founder whom I've never bought a solution from, and I asked him to review my slides as well. So I'm thinking you build these relationships over a period of time because you believe that you're together solving the problems of cybersecurity there, and you learn from each other and you grow together. So hopefully your post-sales support and your transparent roadmap also helps the CISO take a decision on how well your solution works. Moving on from what works to what does not work. What doesn't work? Fear, obviously. You try and scare a CISO. I've seen examples where my CTO has got a mail saying that, oh, there's some great critical bug in your website or in your asset, and the sky is going to fall down. And when I read the mail, I contact the person. They want a personal meeting, in-person meetings to explain what the critical bug is about. Then you request again. Then you say, till the time you don't share it, I will not meet you. But when you actually get an issue, then it's just a minor XSS which exposed on a very small website, small web asset which is there. And then, so don't start off that conversation through fear. Start off a conversation through trust and then directly mailing or leveraging maybe a senior professional who does not understand cybersecurity that well. I'll in fact give you an example of also of a person called Troy Hunt who has leveraged this issue very well. He does it very systematically and in a very logical way as well. Then obviously you have to ensure that you understand the procurement and budget cycles. There may be enterprises which can do sales very quickly. There may be enterprises which have a dedicated mechanism to do it. You have to go through the defined procurement process of an entity for being able to understand how it goes. Then obviously your pitch, while it could be tech only, it has to be focused to that particular company and be able to solve for that company. That means it cannot be a technology alone pitch. It has to show what solution they're solving and also what industry specific work you're doing and what level of maturity you are at. While it may appear, and I saw Priyank's talk in the morning, it may appear that you need to really break through with the incumbents. I feel that for every stage and every geographic region, you can actually work through and provide solutions even in the existing space as well. Even, for example, let's say cloud security posture management is an established sector, but we have Wiz. But how many small organizations can really afford Wiz or Prisma? So there is an opportunity for you to be able to work in an existing space as well, as long as you're able to provide good service and your pitch is tailored to them. So as I end my talk, I wanted to give you some clear takeaways. One was focus on impact and features, not on fear. Also, I wanted to share about start small. When you, let's say, I remember a company in one of my first organizations, which partnered for just under a lakh or two for a 6 months phishing simulation exercise. And since then, the partnership has grown with that company over, I think, 7-8 years, where we've moved on from phishing simulation to security awareness, to dedicated security monitoring solutions, to people-centered security over a large period of time. So start small and grow big again. Earn the trust before you start thinking of selling the solution as well. And obviously, the best relationship between a startup and CISO will be built on a relationship of trust and how you can slowly build and ensure that you become better at it. Finally, certain calls of action. I hope you have some takeaways and you at least have 1 or 2 key takeaways from this. But some of my suggestions were, have a very good CISO ready or a security leader ready pitch deck. Create sorry, it was supposed to be POV. I think there's some error. Create a small POC 7 or 8 day plan, which you should be able to share. How fast can you do a POC and what are the steps which are required to be done for that? And finally, I also wanted to suggest about joining security communities. I'm just saying, while such conferences are also a very good way to meet and interact with security leaders, there are smaller meetups right from ISC to chapter meets or B-sides or Cloud Security Alliance. They're a good place to meet leaders, and not only leaders, meet the teams which are actively working on those areas. There is the where people can actually pitch in and work, and they can be advocates for your solution in their companies as well. And obviously try and match your buyer personas. Make sure that you understand how your solution fits in and which person can actually use your solution and which one will actually influence the purchasing decision. And if you can, finally try and give a good LinkedIn connect and also ensure that try and partner with more CISOs, try and engage them for being a design partner. And final view is try to build for trust so that the leaders can trust you, create value through your solution, and finally win through establishing relationships with your audience and the leaders and the technology teams or security teams you engage with. That's all from my side. Just a book recommendation from, sorry, I think, thanks for taking the leap. I think all of you are great founders, and I think it is takes a large effort to be able to work ahead and interact and build some a great solution in this space. So just my LinkedIn page for scanning. And I also have a recommendation for 2 books which you can read. I think Ross came in the last edition, and Cyber for Builders is an excellent book to read to understand the cyber ecosystem and build a company there. And then finally, if you want to understand how a CISO evolves and what he works on, please read this book, CISO Evolution. It's a fantastic book to read and work on and understand how a CISO builds there. Thank you very much.